We of course finally had the reveal for the PlayStation 4 Pro, and then of course there's been a lot of talk about the upgraded console since the reveal. And now we have some more comments from the head of Sony Interactive Entertainment, Andrew House, who recently sat down for an interview with The Guardian. Now I'm going to link the full interview in the description below this video. It's rather lengthy, I'm not going to go through all of it obviously, but I want to touch on a few things that he discussed. The first thing I want to touch on is if the PS4 Pro is a signal, obviously alongside the Project Scorpio, for the end of the traditional 5 to 7 year architecture life cycle. That's obviously something we've been discussing and many people have been discussing ever since the rumours started about the Scorpio and the Pro, as whether or not this is going to be console gaming going forward if we're going to have a shorter life cycle with upgrades in mid-generation. And House said, quote, "I think that since this is our first foray into this kind of mid-cycle innovation, it's far too early to call that." And unfortunately, he also was not keen to rule out further hardware installments in the PS4 generation. And he said, quote, "We think that for a really substantial period of time, this is the PlayStation 4 lineup. We're very comfortable with that." So basically he's not denying that this is something they're going to think about, the mid-cycle upgrade for consoles. I think what's going to happen for both Microsoft and Sony is to see how these upgrades are received. If they are positively received, if they sell well, if people seem to enjoy the upgrades, the extra power, that sort of thing, then it might be something they continue. And obviously if it doesn't do well, then they might go back to the more traditional console life cycle. Now, another thing that he was asked about by The Guardian was their competition. Of course, the Xbox One S has been getting quite the positive response, as it's the same price as the PS4 Slim, and has a few other extra benefits that the Slim does not have. And of course, Project Scorpio, which admittedly isn't out until winter of next year, does seem to be more powerful than the PS4 Pro, at least from what we've heard of the specs. It's hard to say about the full specs, but we do know that it has 6 T-flops of graphics power, and obviously the Pro only has 4.2. And Andrew obviously was keen to point out the market dominance that the PlayStation 4 has, and also went on to deny that the Pro is in any way a response to the Scorpio project from Microsoft. And he said, quote, "When PlayStation 4 Pro was being conceived, there wasn't a word about Project Scorpio in the marketplace. I'll suggest that reactive isn't our approach at this time around. Life cycles take on, at a certain point, a sense of momentum. Thanks to the efforts of great developers around the world and consumers that have placed their trust in us, we're 40 million units into this life cycle. At that point, we've got a pretty good sense of where the momentum of the life cycle is, but I think the Pro can be something new, innovative, and possibly take us in a slightly different direction." Now, the most interesting thing that House had to say was that when they were designing the Pro, he seemed to suggest that the Xbox wasn't even being considered in their minds as the main competition for the Pro. Instead, it was the PC, and his comments seemed to suggest that the PlayStation 4 Pro is targeting the PC audience, or people who might be tempted to switch to PC from the console generation due to the current machine's limited power. And he said, quote, "I saw some data that really influenced me. It suggested that there's a mid-console cycle where the players who want the very best graphical experience will start to migrate to PC, because that's obviously where it's to be had. We wanted to keep those people within our ecosystem by giving them the very best and the very highest performance quality." Now, that's an interesting statement to make, because many people would say that someone who already has a high-end PC probably isn't going to buy a Pro unless, of course, there's some really nice exclusives that they're interested in. And that's how you get a PC gamer potentially over to your console. And obviously, if you have this improved console that has perhaps better frame rates on certain games, it's obviously an easier sell than, hey, you have to play this game at 30 frames per second. If you say, look, there's the option of playing it at 60 or what have you, then obviously it becomes a bit more attractive to someone who's used to PC gaming. But I think more what they're trying to go for here is not someone who already has like a 1080 or a 1070 or whatever inside their machine. They're after people who are thinking, you know, PS4 is great and all, the Xbox One's great and all, but, you know, I'm seeing all my friends with their PCs and the games look amazing, and they have all these exclusives and, you know, all these advantages to PC gaming. Obviously there's downsides as well, and they might be tempted to switch over, and I guess this is Sony's attempt to be like, no, you don't have to, here's a more powerful console. You can have a PC-ish experience on our machine, and perhaps that's something that Microsoft is thinking of as well. We just don't know, but it's an interesting philosophy to say the least, and it does very much recognise that PC is becoming quite the force in the whole gaming scene. For a long time, PC was obviously kind of in the shadows of consoles, but it is very much at the forefront of things at the moment, and this change in attitude from Sony and potentially Microsoft as well does seem to show that as well. And obviously graphics are great and all, it's all about the gameplay, but I think there is also other advantages that aren't just pure graphics and frame rate to PC gaming that perhaps Sony needs to think about, like the choice of peripherals and that sort of thing. So, interesting comments from Andrew House. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on everything I've discussed here today. Do let me know your thoughts and opinions, and I'll see you next time.